Hi everyone, welcome back to Not My Monk Life. My name is Yara Sky,
And I am Ayesha.
and we're so happy to see you. Or for you to see us, because we can't see you because of technology. We're not there yet. Anyway, today's episode topic is going to be centered around authenticity, and then as usual, we're going to see just where it takes us. Um, I feel like I was brainstorming things to discuss on today's episode, and the one where they kept popping up for me was authenticity. And honestly, I don't know, something's been bringing me back to that energy of like being a kid and being in high school or whatever and wanting to like things because the people around you like things, or wanting to dislike things because the people around you dislike things. That's more concerning to me, but that's what I've been thinking of a lot lately. Um, and like in entering adulthood and like these social spaces, I'm curious like how do you relate to authenticity in that way of like staying very true to your likes, your dislikes, your motivations, not falling into that group think, especially when there are people that have like power or that are like the whatever. How has that kind of fit into your life?
I feel like I'm being interviewed by
I
my
know.
group.
I felt like a little interviewer for a second.
I was thinking about forgiveness and authenticity. And that being said, I'm trying to figure out where to even start.
You like sparked a whole thought process for me because I think that is one of the spaces where the authenticity means the most to me. I think affects me the most is in forgiveness
Mm.
because I'm very quick to forgive people who hurt me. I'm not as quick to forgive those who hurt the people that I love. I forgive them. I'm also like, I don't want them to exist anywhere nearby at all. I don't want them to exist in my mind space, in my social media, whatever, if they hurt someone that I love. If they hurt me, I'm like, we could low key like still be friends in a way. Which that might need more attention later. But it's odd because I feel like I found myself in situations where I've forgiven someone who may have affected me and the people around me. But if I feel as if there's any hurt that still sits with those that I care about, it's like I can fall back into not forgiving them anymore and judging them again and
Mm.
not having grace for those people again. And I find that difficult because I do want to be able to like say what I need to say and get things off my chest and feel whatever and see them as imperfect. But that doesn't mean that I have to try and cut those people down at all. And I feel like in my mind, it feels like maybe like it feels bigger than it probably is. It probably just sounds like me being like, ugh. But in my mind, I hear like, I'm saying things, like it just, I would rather be in a state of neutrality and forgiveness and forgetfulness than to be energetically engaged at all, where I can hold whatever grudge. Because I also feel unsafe. If you hurt me or the people around me and you still exist, like within my realm of whatever, it's like if I'm not on the edge, if I'm not distrusting you, if I'm not whatever, I could fall for it again or fall for someone like you again and you could hurt us again. And the us of it all is what makes it so important. When it's just me, it's like the cycles be cycling. And those like personality types can come back and whatever. I can learn my lessons in the long term. When it affects like the whole, I get so warrior about it of like, I just don't, because it's almost like because I am a bit of a martyr. So it's like, I couldn't protect us. It's like, no, okay, we're all adults. But it's hard to let that go as quickly as I would if it was just me.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's that responsibility of discernment that comes with an awareness. Like you can't really turn a blind eye to it, but it's like, okay, I would like to let this go and just let it be, but also simultaneously, that would be naive to an extent to just be like, whatever, especially knowing how that impacts people or a person, you, like whoever's in the current space, because it's easier to see something or be like, okay, that hurt, peace out, because you have control over that. But if it's someone you really care about, it's like you don't have control over their actions and their path and like their journey and their choices and stuff like that. I'm so happy you brought that up. That led me back to
Thank
what
you
I
brought it up.
that reminded me what I was trying to say, or it gave me the words for it. The idea of forgiveness, unconditional love, or like what that means when it comes to discernment as well. Because I tend to forgive really easily, but that can also lead to not really seeing that it's like, oh no, you're still hurting. So that is forming a resentment potentially, or like forming, maybe not resentment, but fear. Like that's actively forming a space and a
Yeah.
sense of fear and like a lack of trust, usually in myself, because it's like if I'm putting myself in a situation where I haven't really felt resolved in it, then I'm just not fully allowing myself to trust my own intuition and things. So trying to find that balance of holding a space of love and being able to look at a situation objectively and being like, okay, that's not an okay behavior, or, from whatever side. um it kind of just led me back to, okay, what's authentic in the moment is being able to hold a space of awareness and where I'm at, what I feel like, what I need, what's best, and like where I want to be energetically speaking, especially. So if it's like, okay, I want to be able to hold a space of love, well, love in this situation, that vibration doesn't mean that everything needs to be okay and resolved, and like we had this conversation, everything's good, we're like best friends, or just an example of a situation, but like whatever it
Yeah.
is. But being able to think and put that situation in the light of the energy I want to carry, without necessarily needing to engage and feed it in a direct sense. It's like, okay, how am I going to put it in my space, or allow it to exist in my space without sinking down to an energy that I don't want to be in? So, for instance, for me, like one thing I was processing is like a situation that really hurt with some people who weren't even really my friends, but just said some mean things. It's like, these people aren't in my life. Why do I still feel so upset about this? It's like, okay, it's not in my nature to just wish poorly on people. Like, it's not in my nature to think bad about people. So how do I let this go, knowing that, okay, they probably didn't have a change of heart, but by me carrying this, like, neither have I. If I'm just existing in that space of hurt and feeding into that level of like, dang, you don't even know me like that. Just the same type of limited perspective.
Of a similar past experience memory of a person was not very nice to me or lashing out or whatever and questioning my character, and it sits with me. And it has not gone away. Like, because it's a situation that was based in like deep misunderstanding, and the person who's the most upset with me is like 2 degrees removed from the situation.
Mm.
So it was a situation between me and a person, but then someone in relation to that person was mad at me.
Yeah, yes.
And they're
Similar
mad at
thing.
me. Yeah, and they're mad at me for my perspective, from what I like absorb. They're mad at me for something that I would never dare ever do. I'm like, this person doesn't know me, so they thought that I was doing something that I wasn't doing, and they're
Yeah.
questioning my character. And there are people who are defending my character, but this person is in a space of hurt, probably insecure about whatever, and like whatever, and taking it out on me. And I'm like, what? And so I'm thinking about that. I think about that way too often. But I thought about that this week actually, because I'm like, because I was thinking about someone else who dislikes me, who doesn't really dislike me, but like is beefing with me for, like whatever reason. Like they feel type of way, but they don't actually dislike me. You know, the way the sibling rivalry type energy. Anyway, I was thinking about this person and that person, all the people who dislike me. And I'm like, I don't dislike them. I don't dislike them. And I want to get out of the habit of whenever this person maybe comes up or whenever I think about them, being like, having a thought of they dislike me. But I think
Yeah.
they're fine. And always reiterating to myself, they dislike me, they dislike me, they dislike me. I'm like, maybe they do, but also like there's a reality where I could run into this person again. Um, and I shouldn't feel responsible for their feelings around a misunderstanding. if they ever want to talk to me about it, I love a good conversation and a good confrontation. Like, let's go, like, whatever. But like, I do want to release that and work on releasing that. Because I feel like, I don't know, like it comes up of like, there are humans who are in my life who do actively dislike me. I think that the people who love me, who are around those people, should know that they don't have good intentions towards me. But besides that, I don't know, sometimes I feel like discussing it, and I don't think this is what it is, but I feel like discussing it is like trying to get someone on my side. And I don't want someone to like, it's almost like I have this fear that I'm trying to get them to turn against that person. But I'm not. Like, I know that I wouldn't want that to happen, but I have a fear that I am doing that. Also, there's a hurt of them like not being on my side. Like, there's like a fear of like, can I trust you? Will you put me in danger? And I do think some people would. Like, I think some people would be thoughtful and be like, oh, I know this person was like legit rude to you and mean to you, so I'm not gonna like blindside you with them. Other people don't think about that stuff, and they would put me in uncomfortable situations. And I don't know like what goes behind that choice. Maybe like hopefulness that everyone's happy all the time.
Yeah, and like that everyone sees people's genuine character, like especially what you're trying to put out or like who you know yourself to be. I'm not gonna actually hang on. That's me. That might not be you at all. Wait, this is your situation. I'm like, because in your childhood, Sky, you didn't get a lot of that. Like, wait a second, I'm talking about myself. This is Projection 101 with Ayesha Mattel.
Projection 101. That would be a great psych class. Projection 101. That would be great. Oh my goodness. What could the class be called? It could be called Psychological Warfare in Relationships. 201.
I'm surprised there's not something like 201.
That's a 201 class. They probably have something like that at like Yale
probably
School
have
of
something
Psychology.
like that at NYU Gallatin.
They probably do. They probably do. When you broke down, when you started going to NYU, for those who don't know, Ayesha is brilliant and she graduated from NYU, Gallatin. And you started going there and you explained your major to me. You're like, they let me create my major, and I've never heard of it before. I was like, they let you create that.
Have you seen that viral TikTok of Gallatin? Basically, at graduation, this is literally like our last graduation. I asked people what their concentration was, and everyone's, I majored in laptops and social justice, like whatever, just the most random combination of things. I love Gallatin people so much. Like, this is no shade at all. This is like, I loved everyone there. But all the comments were so mean. It was like, don't you mean you majored in unemployment? It's like, and then they'll just like put their coffee order. But I was like, dang, that is kind of
their coffee order.
I have a lot to say on that. About all the times I've tried to explain my major to people. I'm still trying to figure out how to explain it to myself. I'm trying to justify.
What is your major again? Wait, what is it?
I think I called it something along the lines of like embodied artistry as revolution or something like that.
It really was something like that.
Gen Z title. Essentially, it's like the physicality or like the embodiment of artistry, not just through movement, but like integrating photography, writing, like all these different art forms into the body and how that can address limitations or like certain blockages caused by power imbalances, essentially. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to reword things. Speaking of authenticity, the thing with the West is that they've redefined so many terms, and so now they just don't hold the same weight. Saying the word, like, or saying the phrase women's rights, or like just phrases that once held a level of seriousness, I feel like, just don't anymore. And
Yeah.
there's also just such a sensitivity around everything too, which I feel like is
On
also,
both ends.
yeah,
On
it's so
every end.
counterproductive now. I'm like,
It's not one side, it's everyone. Everyone's sensitive and defensive.
yeah. And so that's why sometimes I feel like a little bit confused on how to word things and how to word what I do. Even honestly, like when I was just making those points a second ago that took so long and I kept using the word energy and vibrations. I'm like, these terms that are used constantly that I feel like fuel a sense of putting people into a box or outing people or just anything that feels very divisive when it's not supposed to be, or when like these terms are used to encourage a sense of unity or like understanding amongst people and are actually just dividing people even more. I feel like just there's a lack of logic sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just like putting words onto things that fit because it does fit, but it just doesn't actually it there's like a little bit more grit and stuff associated with
It's
things.
very Western. I feel like even, and this is no tea, no shade, but like in the West, we're used to, I'm going to speak on Christianity. I can't say who is Christian, who's not, right? And I don't want to. But I grew up used to people, you're basically born Christian and you go to church once a week, maybe. And then you're Christian. Did it. And you go once a week, maybe. Or you go once every holiday if you want to. And that's your beautiful experience, right? But then there are people who follow the path of Christianity and they have to they do their Bible study and they go on the Wednesday and they go on the Sunday and they do like the group thing and they do the this and they do the that. And it's like a whole lifestyle attached to it. And so you have people who do follow that process who are like, y'all aren't Christians because you only go on Easter. And I don't know, y'all are out here in these streets. And it's not to say who is what, because once again, I have no interest in I really have no anyway. Um but it's a country where both of those two things exist. And there is sometimes judgment from both sides onto each other as to who is like, even if you're like too conservative, people think you're not Christian. If you go to church every single day, they're like, well, but you think this, so you're not Christian. So there's this two-sided judgment, very different ways of life. And almost like this, like there isn't a unified front, at least I can speak for like in America with stuff like that. So let alone new age spiritualism. I don't know how you're supposed to get a unified front with that one. Half the people won't even read a book about it.
But they read Instagram University, Sky.
And so I feel like they're like places that you can go where everyone embraces a like a fully developed experience and identity. If you go to this place and you're a swimmer, you're all doing all the things because you're Olympians. Whereas like America's so big and there's so many different sectors and there is so much sensitivity and judgment that you can't even be a unified front on what it means to be a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But we feel like we need to have a unified front.
I was just about to say that. One thing that I feel like I've changed my mind over time, when I was 15, I was like, unity, peace, nonviolence. Now I'm like, violence sometimes. Division, originality, disagreements. But like, let's solve them in a humane way, of course. And like address them. But just like the words of peace and unity and things like that in the West are so distorted, where it's like, we are this, like we are one. No, we're all individual people. We're just recognizing each other as is.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because I had to.
I know. It feels like a sensitive topic.
I was so agitated and irritated with things.
I've just been like, ugh.
I've been overwhelmed. I feel like, especially with the work that I do, and I know you and I have talked about this, like even my concerns or my fears with this podcast, for instance, of being categorized or like grouped into new age spiritual girlies or like things like that. Like, yeah, no. Similar, not the same.
More like ancient soul girlies. There is a specific niche that I found on the internet, just
Yeah.
ancient souls.
Yeah, when I was thinking about authenticity and specifically how not just spirituality, but like healing, art, like these practices of release and connection, how they require, of course, like an understanding of the heaviness and lightness within, or like they require an awareness and exploration of all the facets of like the human experience, the ones that are hard and uncomfortable, the ones that are easy, and like everything. And I was sitting with this thought of how it's not that people are scared of like the darkness within. It really is that I think there's a collective fear of the light within, or a collective fear of light. Like, because I feel like it's very easy to go down and to sink into darker places, or when you're finding yourself, it's easy to just go through, for me, like the emo phase, or just like, I
Yeah.
don't know where I'm to find myself. Or like that is an expression. This still is for me. But it's a lot, it seems a lot more difficult for us as a collective to be able to just comfortably accept the amount of lightness and love and like light in general around. And I know, like, psychologically speaking, I know that our brains are wired to see difficulties and like challenges first because survival and things like that. But I also feel like beyond the brain, just like the body in general wants to be able to experience and enjoy, specifically like enjoy the experience of life and the body and like just all the senses and everything. Um, so I was thinking about how sometimes I feel like, especially in spirituality or just the West with healing and stuff, there's almost been like this emphasis on shadow work, which is important. We need that shadow work. But there's almost more of an ease with that, even though it is uncomfortable and stuff. It like feels like um the way it's approached is just this black or white thing of like, this is the darkness, this is the light. Find the light in the darkness, but like they're still on two different sides, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's like not really, they're not really polar opposites. Desire to like pick sides, or this is the right way, or like whatever it is. When we're looking at anything that can fall under competition, it's because we're looking at it through duality, which is a lot of what our culture pushes, or like everything, I dare to say, of what our culture pushes.
Yeah.
It's like that's not even, that doesn't even have to exist.
You
No.
said so many amazing points.
I feel like I needed to wrap it up in one sentence, but I like forgot it. So
Well, okay, so the last thought that I had, well, so many amazing points. Um,
thank you.
Selena Gomez released a new album,
Oh, I didn't know that.
and she did. She's also engaged to Benny Blanco. Did you know
I did
that?
see that. Yeah.
And
Maybe
they're
like
so cute. They're like, I don't know, they're so adorable. In her album, she has like a moment where she talks about just like releasing the idea of perfection and how that's just not cool, and let's just all just simply be ourselves. Um, but being yourself doesn't really sell, not gonna lie. Like it does for specific people, but when I think of like being yourself when it comes to self-expression, your hobbies, your interests, if we're all fully being ourselves all of the time, the disperse everything would be dispersed evenly for the most part, and nothing would be like this giant behemoth of an activity. We wouldn't all soul cycle. Soul cycling wouldn't become a multi-billion-dollar business. I don't know anything about soul cycle. I don't know if they're a
Pilates.
multi-billion-dollar business. We wouldn't all be doing hot Pilates at the exact same time
Yeah.
because a lot of us don't want to do it. Some of us do, some of us don't. But like I don't know, it's just a part of like our culture to make specific things the big deal. Even like when you think about eyebrows. Thin eyebrows are in right now. 3 years ago, thick eyebrows were in.
I
Before
don't.
that, they're chopping off the half. They're chopping
Yeah.
off their eyebrows.
I still don't even understand how those things. One, how people know when they're in or not, but that's because I stay off the internet, so that would probably
Yeah.
answer people. But like, who decides that?
It is who though.
When you're talking about if we're being ourselves 100% of the time, I was. If we're being ourselves 100% of the time, I feel like we wouldn't adhere to like one identity too, though. Like things might things would still sell, just not, it wouldn't go through like the phases. It wouldn't be like, this is the year of Pilates. This is the year of
Yeah.
thin eyebrows. This is the year of thick eyebrows. But I feel like sometimes when people are going through that phase of being open to who they are, it's like whatever resonates in that moment just becomes what it is throughout. Where it's like every moment you're birthing something new. Like you are a different person, literally.
Yeah.
And so every moment you're subject to change because you are changing and you are evolving if you let yourself. So I often wonder too, like what it even means to be, like when people push the concept of be yourself, like even when I push it, I've been thinking and asking myself, like, what do I actually mean by that? Because every second is different. And so,
Yeah.
um, like yourself in a moment could be very far from who you normally know yourself to be because you can just surprise yourself in every second. And it's like, that's you.
I think that's a really good point. I was with a friend of mine recently and we'd grab drinks. And I'm not the biggest drinker, but if I trust you, let's go. Let's have a great time. We grabbed drinks. It was great. And then we met up with someone who I didn't know like that. Like I knew, but I didn't know. Also male. And so I'm like, here, like, well, dang, I'm about to sober up real quick. And my attitude completely shifted. Like I go from like, let's
Mhm.
talk about this, let's talk about that, let's be open, to like, I'm just gonna be on guard now and observe. I'm ready to like, I don't know. And it's not that I'm not fun anymore. It's that I don't want to drink around that person. And even if I have had a few drinks, I am going to sober up really fast. And for me, I'm like, and that's okay. I shouldn't have to sit and continue with the same energy I had with someone that I trusted, with someone that I don't, for that other person's acceptance or for anyone's acceptance of like just doing anything that I don't want to do and seeming incongruent. And I think it's okay to seem incongruent at times. And the people that know you kind of like get that. I think I'm quite introverted. And so if I'm quiet and chill, it is what it is, you know? And if I'm open and goofy with you and I share a lot with you, then that means you've like entered that space. I'm not scared of the world. I just don't in particularly want to let everybody in. I think that that's a lot to do. And I think it can put you in a very vulnerable position energetically if you let everybody into your space like that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, I had to embrace that in different spaces of being like, I don't mind if people see me as like a brat or as like uppity or something. I have all these pop culture references, but I remember Zendaya was saying where she's like her stylist, La Roche. So I'm afraid I said that wrong. I don't know. I'm gonna just call him Law. But her stylist Law, um, he had to tell her like people think that you're like uptight basically. I don't have the quote, but people think that you're uptight because you walk in rooms quiet and you stay to yourself. She's like, I'm literally just shy. But people thought she had like an energy about her. So she like worked with it to like be, more inviting, more whatever, because she's a nice person. Um, but it's that thing where you fall into like if you're just a little bit different, if you're introverted, if you're whatever, and your instinct is to close up, people might feel that you're a certain type of way. And honestly, I kind of don't mind if someone feels a certain type of way. Um, yeah. I can't really let that keep me up at night.
I really love that about you, because like this is something I feel like we've talked about since early on in our friendship. And I remember you telling me one time, like the amount of power you can hold just by being quiet. Like if you're at a table and everyone's on their phones, like the amount of power you can hold just by being the one that's like not on your phone and just being like just in your own presence. And I like practicing sitting in that silence, because I naturally am an introvert. And I forget how introverted I am until I'm around people I'm really comfortable with, like out in public. If I'm one-on-one, I could talk. But
Yeah.
out in public, it's like if I'm really safe. Well, I feel like if certain people watch this, they'll be like, she's so safe. If I'm really quiet, I'm either feeling really uncomfortable and not safe, or really safe. So, choose which one you want to be on.
That's so real.
You
Sometimes
want
I
to
feel
be
so safe that I say nothing for hours. Like when I'm with like
Yeah.
bestest friends, it's literally a spectrum. Quiet, social, back to quiet. Like I
Yeah.
can sit here and say nothing and stare at a wall and they'll still think I'm great.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot and really tuning into, okay, I'm quiet and I'm uncomfortable, but that's because I feel like I should be talking, but actually I feel safe. And then in some situations, it's like I'm quiet, but I'm not actually feeling too comfortable, like just saying things or being me, because the space just feels a little off or like uninviting to me. So really following that and feeling into it, but accepting whatever state you're at in that moment too, knowing that you don't have to give more of yourself than you can give, but also like feeling the freedom to challenge yourself and like push beyond that. So just like practice being you, because in other spaces I'll be so outgoing and extroverted and it's like I'm so exhausted now because I was using that energy because I felt like I needed to compromise or make myself feel safe by asserting my space, rather than just like accepting the fact that it's not the time, day, maybe not the place, like whatever the situation is, to really be that open. And so there's like no need to force it.
That's a really good point. I like the I like all the differentiations. I like the differentiation between not having to assert your space and simply just sitting in your space. Like I don't have to sit here and be on the defense. I can just sit here and just be my cute little bubble while you guys all do whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also such a clear difference of like being that quietness and that protectiveness versus being quiet and just maybe a little like insecure and like I don't know if I should say something, but I like these people. And those are two very different feelings. And you do like need to challenge yourself when you're in that space of like, here's where I practice speaking up when I'm uncomfortable. And gaining your confidence in whatever space that is, it's making you feel like question yourself.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that because I've just been like so chilling in my own space, like no pressure to talk when I'm out kind of vibe, which is really nice. And it reminds me like, oh yeah, your natural nature is really just introverted and enjoying like people watching, being in your own space. And I think that like I'll go through the phases where I'm super bubbly and outgoing and like, hey, hi, let me start a conversation with you. But I have to have the opposite. Like that is the default. The opposite, the quiet, is default.
It's what you said about like your natural state being why you should like people watch and all of that. And that's been on my mind this week of just this thought has been coming up of you don't have to want to be in the world. Like you just don't have to want to do that. And like I have this escapist mindset where I want to run off to Hawaii. What'd you say?
So that's so dark, but it's so true.
I didn't think it was dark at all.
You don't have
What's
to
crazy? Oh no, I don't mean on Earth. I do randomly say things that like sound so dark, and I'm like, I meant that in such a positive way. Wait, let me wrap my thoughts. Okay, the whole thing of you don't have to want to be a part of this, but still on it, still alive. But it came from the fact that I get kind of escapist sometimes, and I like keep just wanting to like run off to Hawaii and like work at like a shop and slowly become the manager and just help a small mom and pop shop run, and then do podcasts, do poetry, go to the beach, breathe, meet a few people, eat food that doesn't upset my stomach, and just kind of like live. But there's this thing of like, no, you should be in the hustle and the bustle. You should want to like engage with all these people, network. You should network.
Network. That
Network.
word triggers me.
And like all this stuff of like, well, what are you gonna miss out on, huh? Like, are people gonna da da da? Like, you should, because especially when like sometimes I feel like people I don't know, just shove their way into like my space often. Um, like if you garner attention, shouldn't you want attention? And shouldn't you seek attention? Shouldn't you do what you need to do to get attention? And I'm like, no. It's just a thing that you don't have to want. You don't have to want to be engaged with the people around you. You're allowed to want to like
Sorry, I was just saying like everyone. There's this idea that you have to be for everybody.
everybody. Everybody. I'm like, if someone dislikes me, it's fine. My whole thing with dislike is literally just dislike me to my face because I would respect it more. Don't secretly hate me deep down, not admit it to yourself, and actively like scheme on my demise. Don't do that.
Like that southern charm too. Like that thing we do in the South where it's just like, hi. Little cutie patootie, and then behind your back
Yeah.
is like these weird exotic people.
It's just like just bless y'all's heart. Oh, bless y'all's heart. Don't y'all look so unique today? They're going to hell.
Yeah.
The South is wild. I remember having that experience in college. I had a friend, like my really, really great friend, amazing person. But her friends were kind of protective. Not protective, possessive.
There we go.
And so we there we go. So we got really close. And they're like kind of weird towards me. And then like they start being nice and like saying nice things. And I'd leave the conversation and be like, I think they like me now. She's like, no, they don't. She's like, no, they still hate you. They're still saying this on the third. And I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. And I don't think it didn't make me sad. It was more so like, I don't know, when you care about someone, you want the people in their life, you want to at least get along with the people in their life.
Yeah.
And we did, but it just felt so inauthentic. Um, because there's like a fakeness to it. Like I don't know. So it was inauthentic. That too. It's like if I dislike someone, I let people know and then I'll avoid them forever.
But I also don't think you and I are the people that are like the best at hiding things like that.
No.
Like, one, we show it on our face. So that alone, it's just hard for us to lie about things like that.
Yeah.
Because I have. Like, I've tried to be authentic about it. And been like, yeah, no, they're cool. But it's like, no. The words that come out in my brain, I think I'm like, yeah, they're cool out loud. It's like, no, I'm not the biggest fans of them because like this, and this. Can we somehow get a time for us to all meet again so I could like have a conversation and see if there's anything that needs to be discussed or like get to the root of what's up because there's this weird thing. I'm like, wait, I said all that? I thought I was just
like my voice is all high pitched. Have you ever thought about thoughts on what are your thoughts on this person? Do they seem like they hate me? I don't know. Just picking up on it. Yeah. The thing is, whenever I like try to hold it in, it then explodes out of me. So I've decided not to try and hold these things in.
Yeah. I've learned that if I hold it in, try to hold it in, and like when it explodes, it's also not the way I want it to come out.
Exactly.
Like because
Yes.
dislike I don't like it's hard for me to get to that place of disliking people. because I usually just end up going MIA or like ghosting myself, removing myself from the situation when it comes to certain people.
I do the
Like,
same. I just remove myself.
I think in times where it has gotten to that point, it's because it's just sitting on my mind, or like I'm actively thinking about it, and it's just that fear component, and then feeding into the fear of like what I feel like they're feeling about me. It's like, yeah, it ends up
Yeah.
being a lot of overthinking and having too much time on my hands to sit and entertain this, when it's like it could have either been talked about, discussed, if there wasn't room for that, or if that wasn't like a thing to that was an option, um or an agreement on both ends, and it's like, let it go, let it be. um
Yeah.
like, don't put myself in those situations, or in situations where I'm going to choose to engage it, at least in my head, like after the interaction, because I get, sometimes you're like forced to be in those spaces, or like sometimes you just have to be in those spaces and play the game, especially like work and things like that. But um yeah, it's just, I'm a girl is exhausted, feeling feeling drained from feeling things that I don't want to feel.
Yeah. I feel like I do think there's that difference of I'm not quick to develop a deep dislike for people, like you were saying. And like if I'm not feeling somebody, I just avoid them. Like I don't like that. I'll be like, I don't like that person because maybe they're misogynistic, or maybe they're racist, or maybe they say really creepy things about women. I'm not saying they're a terrible guy and none of you should be friends with him. I'm just saying I don't like him in the sense of like I don't trust him. He's probably not someone that I should try and trust. I'm not trying to build a friendship with them. They're fine, but I'm going to kind of avoid them in these settings. So I don't feel like developing a proper deep dislike. Whereas people that like I'll end up around that affect me more emotionally are those who have chosen to dislike me or work against my well-being. And that's when I feel like we need to have a conversation. Like I don't need to ask. I don't need to have a conversation with someone who I just think is like probably rude. It's fine. I can avoid you. But if I think that this person is actively doing things to hurt me or saying things, whatever, I'm like, I would like to have a conversation because it doesn't make sense. Like, nothing makes sense for this to be the reality. Up to date, nothing has ever made sense like, oh, you should feel that way. Not to disregard someone's feelings, it's just more so if we talked, it'd probably be fine. If we talked and you trusted me and trusted what I said, it would probably be fine. Um, but also at the same time, I've had to release that where it's like, I've had conversations with people and they don't even know why they're taking things out on me, like at all. No idea, but it's happening. I've just become the punching bag. And in that situation, that's just a little too up in the air risky
Mhm.
when people can develop like judgments of you, dislikes for you, whatever, fully and utterly because of personal stuff. I had someone when I was just a child, a little high school baby, some girl hated me. I had never had a conversation with her a day in my life. Did she hate me? Maybe she didn't hate me. But she said I couldn't like she's like, "Oh, this person she's like you this person can't come me because I heard that she's a bitch basically." Not basically,
As I
literally. That's
heard
what
she
she
is.
said. um and so in my mind I meant that she hated me and that she has this weird perspective of something, but I never ever had a conversation with her. I never said a bad thing about her because I know they're just things where I said positive things about her. So I was like, that's insane. And I took it so personally for years. So I'd never had someone outwardly dislike me like that before. Um, I've had someone outwardly dislike me at that point, but like not in that way of like so indirect and with no reasoning behind it. And it was so confusing. I don't like being confused. But I think with time and experience lately, I'm getting better with just being like, it really has so little to do with me. I'm gonna let them do what they need to do. I just get frustrated when it's like, I'll give y'all time to get over it, but sometimes I don't have time for you to get over it if you're gonna affect my life. I'm like, I don't really have time for you to get over this and realize I'm actually a fine person. I'll give you the time usually, but if you're too like intertwined with things that actually affect me day to day, goodness gracious, then it gets annoying. but still grace for the human heart. Because everyone's just going through something, but why y'all gotta involve me in what y'all going through? Dang.
Yeah, it's like people are going through their thing, but you're also learning how to just fill your own space in your own cup and tune that stuff out, but also like hold an awareness that people are just little babies.
Just little
No matter how
babies.
old. We're all
No matter
just
how old. Literally, we're all just kids. Gotta let the kids kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I just gonna be everyone's great uncle, just hanging out. Not a part of the drama. I want everyone to feel like she just feels like my great uncle. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Not your great aunt, because she's in the drama. Your great uncle. He's just chilling on the couch watching TV. But we are around 56 minutes. So,
Oh,
I know. That kind of flew by. Especially with
I
how
feel
sleep
like,
deprived we are.
yeah, yeah. I think I have the flu. I was telling Sky that.
So we're gonna let you go to sleep.
I keep zoning out because I start feeling a little lightheaded and dizzy.
Oh no.
I want to
Have
do
you,
another part. I feel like authenticity is like, makes its way into most of our conversations, at least
I think
lately.
so, pretty regularly. That's a nice sign that we think about that often.
Yeah, it is. That is good.
It's good. We will revisit this topic in whatever shape or form, whether it's a dedicated episode topic or it just shoves its way in while we're talking about spring break vacation plans. You know, it'll appear. When you expect it least, authenticity will show up. But thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate you so much. We love you dearly. We wish you the best and that you can live your most authentic lives.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you next time with Not My Monk Life. Bye.